Okay, let's go into missed communication, not miscommunication. Did you catch the difference? Okay. Missed. It's missed. Okay. There was a survey. Oh, I'm not doing anything. Okay. There was a survey of more than 5,000 employees. Okay. I know this is talking about managers and that and employees, but we really can take it into the marital relationship. So stay with me, and you'll see how it's relative. Okay. Many managers and executives take their communication with employees and even customers for granted. See what I mean? A lot of us can take our communication for granted. So many managers, this is what they found in this survey. Many of them instinctively assume the role of a teacher who knows everything and expects others to passively imbibe their knowledge. Does that hit home for anybody in here? Okay, sometimes we have that within marriages where you have one that is the teacher. Let me teach you. Let me share with you my wisdom. And it will just seep in and you will be a better person. That's not a good thing, okay? But often we can take this role in this position here, okay? Presenting without a purpose. It's not a good idea. Okay, we're communicating just to hear themselves talk. Now, sometimes this can be an issue because, like I've already shared, men use about 2,000 words a day. Women use about 20,000, okay? So, men often think that we are just talking to hear ourselves talk. Yeah, about 2,000, 20,000. Did I say 2,000? Yeah, that's about that. It depends on what research you read. Yeah, I tell you that every time I come. It'll sink in, and then it'll start understanding. It's just in her blood. It's in her hormones. She has to talk. Okay. But sometimes it's not good just to talk for the sake of talking, because what happens if here's Vince and I just keep talking and 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 talking to him? What does Vince do? He stops listening. So then when there's something important, shoo, he misses it. Well, I told you. Okay, so talking without a purpose. Sometimes it's good to have a purpose. It doesn't mean the purpose could be that I just want to connect with you. I want to share my day with you. So you can't go, you don't have a purpose for telling me about your day. Why do I need to know this? Okay, we're not going rude. It's just meaning we don't need to just blab and blah, 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 right? Okay. All right. Abraham Lincoln said, when I get ready to talk to people, I spend 2/3 of the time thinking about what they want to hear and 1/3 thinking about what I want to say. And that's how we talk to people. We need to tell them, think of them. Be aware of what they want to hear. It doesn't mean I'm pacifying them or lying to them. It's not any of that. It's just okay, what's their interest? Because I guarantee if I took Vince and I talked about, I don't even know what I could talk about for 2 hours. Let's say sewing. I couldn't, but okay. I'm going to talk to Vince for sewing for 2 hours. He's gone. Right? The next time he hears Aunt Janet's coming, he's hiding. And so we have to consider what's the other, how do we engage the other person? We want to have a purpose. Okay, not just talk to hear ourselves talk. Sarah, I'm really sorry, but I have to do this. Okay. Jack used to drive Sarah to school every morning when she went to public school. And this is when she was younger. It's not now because she's been homeschooled for 1.5 years now. So, but he said he'd get home and go, she just talks nonstop. All from the time we get in the truck until I drop her off for 20, 25 minutes straight. She just talks and talks and talks. He's like, I don't know if I can keep doing this. But she was just a talker. Now, she had a purpose. She's connecting with her daddy, okay? And she's talking about whatever she wants to talk about. All right, presenting without complete understanding. They also found many employees report that their managers and executives present information and ideas that are either extraneous or irrelevant because they don't really understand their circumstance. Take that into your marriage. You ever get that? You're talking to someone and then they give you feedback and you're going, what are you talking about? You don't even know. What? How could you say that? Because they don't. They're just like, they just throw something in there, or they don't understand it, and then they give you this idea, and then how do we respond? The eyebrows go up, and we get frustrated. So sometimes it helps if you don't understand that you ask, okay? So one of the mistakes can be presenting without complete understanding. Another is being dull and monotonous. Okay? And it's just being dull. It could be what you're saying, but do you ever wonder why I move a lot? Because if I just stood over here and just kept talking, I think I would lose you guys. So I talk. I use inflection in my voice. I move. I come like on Wednesday. I stand here and I go over here. And then I come back and I come over here. I heard that Stephen was jumping around in here last weekend. Because we don't want to be dull and monotonous. We want to keep your interest. Okay? So it's good to look at that. Okay, saying too much. Overwhelmed by a flood of information that seems random and disjointed. Okay, assuming that the listener or the audience agrees. That goes back to like what I was saying with the guys that were in Japan and they're going like this. You ever have that? Your spouse or your child says, but I told you that. Uh-huh. Well, that means I get to get it. No, it doesn't. Just because you told me that you want an iPad doesn't mean you get to get one. Just because you said it and I went, uh-huh. Meaning I agree that that's something that's important to you or that's what you think. It doesn't mean I agree with you. So we make assumptions there that the other person, just because we say it, we present it to them that they agree with us if they don't argue back. And Brother Owen, most of us are wise enough not to always argue back when we don't agree, right? We just go, uh-huh. Uh-huh. And we just say that. It does not mean that the listener or the audience agrees. Sarah has learned to use that on me. Didn't I tell you to clean your room? Well, yeah, that doesn't mean I was going to. Yes, you told me, but did I say I would do it? Okay, so it can flip on us because that's what I do to her. She'll say, didn't I tell you I wanted chocolate milk? Yes, you did. Well, where's my chocolate milk? It's in the fridge. The cups are in the cupboard. Doesn't mean I agree that I have to get it, but she throws it right back at me. She's learning, using it against me. Okay, letting your emotions take over. According to Dr. Peter, speak when you're angry and you'll make the best speech you'll ever regret. Can't we go fast when we're really angry? Can't we just we don't have a loss for words, do we? We just lose it and we God, blah, 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 just all comes out and then it can sound so good and you're like, oh my goodness, why did I say that? I don't even think that. I don't feel that. I don't know where that came from, but it just all came out. So speaking when your emotions take over is not a good thing. All right, genuine communication is what we're striving for. We want two-way reciprocal process and not a one-way information delivery system. Now, that could be different at times, but in general, when we're communicating with our spouse or when we're trying to build relationship, remember back to that very start where it is about relationship, then we want to have a two-way. There's times that Regina might just need information from Steve or Steve need it from Regina, and then you're just getting that, or they're just talking to their kids, and it's not a dialogue. It's meaning, no, you're going to just listen and do it. This is not a discussion. So there's times when it's not, but in general, when we're talking about communication and relationship, we're looking at having that two-way. It's as much a matter of human relationship as transmitting facts. So what do we want to do? We kind of want to sometimes begin at the end. Give the point. That way you don't lose them by going blah, 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 blah. And then you can go back. Sometimes begin at the end, though. Put the ideas out there. Put what you're thinking out there first. I know my husband hates it when I say, I know you're not going to like this. He knows, or I'll say, I know you don't want to, but see, that primes his brain. He knows, okay, what does she want me to do? Here it comes. All right, so sometimes beginning at the end. Listen first and speak second. And I've said this before, I know. Take on a counselor role, not an attorney role. Attorneys want to control the conversation. They want you to say only what they want you to say and only answer their questions. And they will try to stop you from saying anything other than that. And they will try to word things in a way where you have to say yes or no, and it's not a yes or no answer. Right? We can do that in our relationships. Just say yes or no. Well, it's not a yes or no. How simple is this? Just say yes or no. Well, it's not a yes or no. Well, where do you want to go for dinner? Well, it depends. And most men think, no, that's a direct question and it calls for like a 1 or 2 word answer. Or females might think that's a simple question. Sometimes it could depend on different things. But if we take the counselor role, okay, well, what do you think? Well, what do you feel like eating? Listen. And don't come up with your answer while you're listening. Truly listen. Get where they're coming from. And don't just read all the body language and make assumptions, but keep it open. Okay. Here's a pardon. Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking to someone else. You ever had that? You're sitting in the same room as your spouse and you talk. Oh, are you talking to me? There's no one else here. I asked my husband when I talked to him earlier. I said, sorry, are you missing us yet? He goes, yeah, I always miss you. He goes, I find that I've been talking more to the dogs. So he's having his conversation with the dogs because Sarah and I aren't there. So anyhow, some of that is, we often, when you're going to start a conversation, we want to earn attention or get their attention, okay? There's so much that's always kind of going around in our heads because even though there's only the 2 people in the room, I know that Gungor said that men have that where they can just do nothing. As a female, I can't relate to that. I'm never not doing anything, even if I'm sitting there perfectly still and not moving. I'm not doing nothing. My brain is going and thinking and all over the place. Yes, it's that whole big ball of rubber bands. It's connected. So maybe guys can have that empty, I don't know. I'm not a male. Some have related that, yes, they can do that. Others have said no, that doesn't work for them either. But most people have all these thoughts and ideas going in their head, and so it's what's called mental noise. So even if we talk to them, it doesn't mean they're going to hear us, even though there is nobody else in the room. We're the only one talking. So we have to get their attention. A good way to do that is to say their name or say something. Hey, it could be that. It doesn't have to be their name. That's what I try to get Jack to do. Say my name. It cues me like away from what I'm thinking or doing to attend to you. Not at the end of the sentence. At the beginning. Say my name. Or even, hey you. Or nudge me. Do something. I've been around, I know they too. Because I'll hear Stephen go, Reg. Because she's sitting, she's working. So get the attention. Because it can avoid some conflict then when we don't. So we want to get people's attention. All right, we want to present with brevity. Does anybody know what KISS stands for? Okay. we say silly. Keep it simple, silly. Nah, Stephen's going, nah. Okay. So it's good to keep some brevity there. Again, that's that going on and on and on. But if we can try to keep some of the stuff kind of just basic, kind of simple, not too intense. I see this one family, and the dad is very intense. They have family meetings. His daughter is in college. She hates to come home. But if she comes home, they have to have a family meeting. He has an agenda written out. And you're looking at a 2 or 3 hour meeting, which might be followed with an hour of prayer. I've been working with him for 1.5 years on that KISS. And I don't use the last word, but I keep saying, keep it simple. Keep it simple. Even his interactions with other people. Keep it simple. I should have known when he first started seeing me, and I got this email, that it could be a problem. Because this is what he does. And he constructs 3 or 4 page emails. And he writes them out, and then he types them out, and he sends them to people. Like I said, I've been working with him for quite a while, and I can't get it through to him. And I'll say it in 2 sentences. I can't. Yes, you can. All that, what you have to say right there, just say it 2 sentences. And we'll go through a topic. 2 sentences, say it. What's your main point? Because I could say 1 sentence, but I'm giving you leeway. You can say 2 sentences. Say 2. Now, I'll probably give the main point and say, but there's a lot more I have to say on this subject, okay? But it's just, keep it simple. Sometimes we lose people in way, way, way too much dialogue, right? So we want to. And that, like I said, is bad. Okay, we want to confirm understanding. George Bernard Shaw said, the single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. We often think that we've had a good discussion, only to find out we haven't. We missed it. They didn't get it. They don't understand. They weren't listening. They don't agree. Lots of different stuff. It's an illusion. Like I said, when we go through, we're gonna hit it harder. But it is a mistake to just take for granted that it's happened because words came out of my mouth. And I know we extend mercy often to our children in this area, but we don't extend as much mercy to our spouses, to other adults in this area, and it happens often. We don't really like it when we don't think our kids have listened to us either, but it is an issue that we want to deal with. Confirm understanding. Do you understand? And then it's confirm agreement, okay? Do you understand what I said? Does that make sense? I was just talking about, I have some new families. We have 4 new families doing quizzing this year. And we have in Texas what's called Circle of Excellence. So if the kids can quote 85% of the material for that tournament, then they qualify for Circle of Excellence, and then they get this medal. They call all their names up. And so even a child, they may never hit the buzzer or may never get recognized. If they know they can quote 85% of the material, then they get recognized because they all get to come up and they get their medals. Well, I had sent out the rules. They sent it out to me, and I forwarded it to my parents, and then I tell them, let me know if you have any questions, and then I do it again. I give them a little bit more information. I check with them. We're at the January tournament. There's a mom there. Her 2 twins are 9, and they're quizzing, and I go and I said, I didn't hear back from you. Do they qualify for Circle of Excellence? She said no, and I said, do you understand what that is? She said yes. I said, okay. So they weren't on the list. The other 8 juniors were. Well, then 2 days later, people were saying to me, oh, well, she didn't understand. I talked to her, and she didn't understand. And they did qualify, but she didn't understand. Well, I said, do you understand? I didn't say it that slow. So I had to take it when she said yes, that she understood. So sometimes, even when we say, do you understand what I'm talking about? People say yes. Why would they say yes, Corey? Okay, because they think they understand. Okay? Okay, so they understand it another way. Why else might they say yes? To avoid looking stupid. A lot of times people say yes. Do you understand? Yes. Because they don't want to look stupid. Because they understand a different thing. Because they don't want to get in trouble. Or they want you to stop talking. Right? Do you understand? Yes. And they don't, but they don't want to hear any more from you. So there's lots of reasons that people, if you just say, do you understand, they may say yes back to you. And that's within any relationship, right? It could be coworkers, could be subordinates, it could be boss, it could be anybody. Especially a boss might say yes if you're explaining something to them. They don't want to look stupid, right? So what's a good way then to confirm understanding? Have them repeat it back to you. So would you say, will you repeat that back to me? Ask them again if they understand. Okay. Okay. Right. Get clarity. So with that example I gave, it would be, well, when you reference them, what percentage are they at? Then I would understand. If she's like, well, I don't know what that means. Or I don't know, or because, believe me, coaches, they know where the kids are at anyhow. Because, we see them quiz, so we pretty much know how they can reference. So, yeah, ask something that isn't threatening. It isn't a risk to, I might look stupid, or maybe they're understanding something different. I know that can happen with students a lot. They come in thinking, oh, I know this subject. They take the test and they bomb it. That does happen often, and they're like, oh, I guess I understood something different than I was supposed to, but I thought I had this clear. And then you get that we want to confirm acceptance as well. Does that sound like a good idea to you? And a lot of then that's where the words are going to come in, on what words we use. And I'm going to talk about that in the next weekends of that. What kind of words do you use in order to not have the other person become defensive, to clarify, to make sure there is communication. Remember, two-way reciprocal. All right, so I pushed it 3 times now. I don't know what to do, Ben. Oh, okay, I got to go back and see if there's more. All right, there's not. Okay, all right, so these are kind of a few funny things from newspapers, ads. Okay, first one, dog for sale, eats anything and is fond of children. Did you get it, Sarah? Okay. Okay. Stock up and save. Limit 1. Illiterate. Write today for help. You can't read. And usually you can't write. If you can't read, you usually can't write. So, wanted, man to take care of cow that does not smoke or drink. Isn't it funny, though? I mean, these are real ads. Like, man to take care of cow. I mean, that alone is kind of funny, don't you think? Wanted, man to take care of cow. It makes, really? How many ads have you seen that say, wanted, man to take care of cow? I'm there now. All right, used cars. Why go anywhere else to be cheated? Come here first. I'm waiting while they explain. All right, so the way we say things, the wording is important, right? Because we communicate different things, and it can come across. Like I just said, with the couple that I see where she's from Texas and he's from Boston, and you know, they're having a lot of difficulty, and they come in, and I keep going, it's a communication problem. It's a communication problem. And he sits there, and she'll say, well, I don't feel he's there for me. And he's like, well, I'm picking up the kids, and I'm making dinner, and I'm doing this, and I cleaned this up, and I paid for this. And then she's like, but I just don't feel you're there for me. And the issue is, he's talking practical things you do. She's talking emotions. I don't feel you're there for me. Often if I ask a man, okay, how do you feel about your wife going back to work? I'm just making stuff up, okay? What kind of answer do you think I get? What would you say? I know you don't have a wife. Okay. We'll work it out. We'll do this. What would you say? Okay. What would you say? That's good. What would you say? I have no idea. What would you say? Go to work. Okay, that's okay. What would you say? How much money are you going to make? What would you say? Stay home, take care of the kids. All right, I got to go on this side. Go ahead. Someone says your wife, I know she's already working, but okay, your wife's going back to work. She said, and I say, how do you feel about that? What do you say? I don't know. Bring home the money. That's good. What would you say? That's good. All right with me. Who's going to watch the kids? Did you want to answer back there? If that's what she wants. Now, did you hear one feeling in every one of these answers? I said, how does that make you feel? And not one guy in here really gave me a feeling. They all gave me oh, I missed you. I already blew it. Huh? You would have said the same thing, so see, he would have missed it too. Right. Nobody gave me a feeling. I said, how would it make you feel? How's it make you feel? But we didn't get one feeling. Good, I don't know. Bring home the money. Who's going to watch the kids? See, they all responded either practical, that's good, give me the cash. Or, how are we going to do this? What's with the kids? Or, I don't know. But if I ask a female a question, and I won't do it now because they'd all give me feelings. But if I ask a female, well, how does that make you feel? They'd give me feelings. And that's a huge difference, and we're going to get into it a lot more, but it's a huge difference between males and females. You can ask a man how he feels, and he's going to tell you what he thinks. And I often have to go, That's how you think. How do you feel? That's how you think. How do you feel? Again, that's a feeling, or that's a thought. Give me a feeling. How does it make you feel? Use a feeling word. And some of you might go, good is a feeling. Really? What feeling is that? Is that happy? Okay. Then use that. That's a feeling. Because in my wheel of feelings, good is not listed. Good. I don't know what that means. It's good. That could be, it's just out there. It's kind of like saying fine. Right? Men, don't ever tell your wife that they look fine. Okay? So, we have these differences, and the wording can be make a difference. And so sometimes what we want to do is again go back to that listen and then speak. Because if the other person is talking feelings and you're talking practical, or they're talking practical and you want to go feelings, you're having two different conversations. So we need to stay on the same page, right? And it's kind of, who introduced it? It doesn't mean you can't cover both. But if he keeps talking practical and you keep talking feelings, or you're talking practical and he's talking feelings, it can happen. You're having two different conversations. You're not going to connect. It's going to be kind of like these. Come here first. Why go elsewhere to be cheated or something, All right, I have a scripture here. And my brother can help me if I need it. This is Philemon 1:7. For we have great joy and consolation in thy love, because the bowels of the saints are refreshed by thee, brethren. What does that mean? What does it mean if your bowels are refreshed? You had a good meal? If you read 1:1 through 1:6, he is going through. This is Paul, and it's his standard intro of, we love you, we're here for you in Jesus Christ. We extend all honor and grace to God and mercy to God. And I know you pulled up a different translation. I did too. I liked this one. Because you read one, and I was reading something different. I was reading, but I didn't expect to. And then I hit this verse, and I went, what? Because the bowels of the saints are refreshed by thee. You made me have to go to the bathroom. All right, here, I'll let him read the translation.
Your love has given me much joy and comfort, my brother, for your kindness has often refreshed the hearts of God's people.
Your kindness has refreshed the hearts of people. That sounds a lot different than because the bowels of the saints are refreshed by thee. Doesn't it? Does it mean the same thing? Same verse. Do you think they're totally different? Or are they saying the same thing? What do you think, Dad? Right. Mm-hmm. Right. Did you understand? Okay, so it's like, so some things are relevant or they have meaning to me or to you. And so when we use a phrase, then it might not be interpreted the same way. And when we come from different family units, we will have these little sayings or we'll have these little things that mean something to us. And then we marry or we interact with other people. And it's very evident if you get someone from a different country. Right? like, the boys are learning Spanish. And it'll give them a basis. But all those little nuances that we could have in our language, that I'm sure that they have in Spanish, it could be, harder for them to do that. I know, with like deaf ministry, they don't usually sign the Lamb of God or the Lamb was slain, or they usually replace Lamb with Jesus, because within deaf ministry, it's very literal. And so they don't usually use those other words. What's it called? Allegory. Okay. They'll usually replace it with Jesus. So this just kind of worked for me when I found this. I was going, I know that's not what he's saying, because 1:1 through 1:6 is all about, how wonderful you are and how much we love you and how much we appreciate you and all this stuff. And then they go, we have great joy and consolation in thy love, because the bowels of the saints are refreshed by thee. Because you help relieve our constipation. Can you imagine walking up and telling someone that? I really appreciate you because you relieve my constipation. So we want to attend to, okay? We want to attend to the words. We want to attend to what we do with our bodies. We want to attend to what we're doing with this face. And if the eyebrows go up, if the eyebrows go down. How much we extend, our vocabulary with certain people, how we speak, what words that we're using. What, with that same friend that I said with holding my hand, she was from Taiwan, and so she would ask me in class often. Instructors would use little things, and she's like, she would have to ask me what those meant, because it wasn't standard just English. And so, we have to have clarity there. So if we really want to communicate with somebody, we got to make sure that that's happening, so that we're kind of on the same page, that we have the same idea of where we're going, that we look at, what we're using. We don't want to be overly defensive. We want to look at what we do. I know it took me probably 2 months. Sarah got stuck on this one thing, and I had to keep saying, we have 5 fingers and they're all okay. There is not a sinful finger on this hand. It's okay for me to use all 5 fingers. If I use one of them, I am not sending a message, because God gave me 5 fingers. Just because man might want to take it and use some things as a vulgar gesture, doesn't mean I can't use all 5 fingers and this hand is okay. Because she's under the idea you can't even scratch your head with that finger. You can't, you need to hide it. No. This is an okay hand, and these are 5 fingers, and they're all okay. And we want to look at, what's happening out there that we don't necessarily always just take it and interpret it in here. But we do want to be aware of, as we become more multicultural, and we reach out to people that might have not been raised in the United States or on the East Coast. Because you could have some problems with Texans coming here, or from Californians, or anybody from California? There you go. Okay, so there's different ways. We, in Texas, we blame all the bad driving on the Californians that came to Texas. So we say that's why they drive that way on the highway. It's all that California drivers. Not women drivers, it's the California drivers. And so we do this. All right, one other thing I want to bring up before we close. And I touched on this, and we talked about this a little bit before, but it really does play in with communication. And I apologize because you're going to go, oh, you already told me this before, but I need to bring it up again. When we interact with each other, we really want to watch the things that sometimes we call kidding, that we're just playing, and we don't really mean any disrespect by it. And what I mean by that is, Well, like I just said, we don't blame it on women drivers. Kind of those kind of comments. Oh, it must be a woman driver. Or nowadays it's, oh, it must be a gray-haired driver. Right? We want to watch the disrespect. But between, the genders, the sexes, we want to watch all those little innuendos that can come up and that are disrespectful. Here's an example. I had a guy that was telling me, and his wife was complaining. I was seeing the two of them together, and they're older than me. And she was saying that she felt really super disrespected by him, that he didn't value her, didn't appreciate her. And I said, well, can you tell me why? Give me some examples. And she said, well, here's one example that, he was educated, that she kind of struggled through school. She finished high school but didn't go on. And that they were driving, and they had some other friends in the car with them, and they were driving down the road, and they passed one of those people out there dressed like the Statue of Liberty and for Texas. You guys got that here? Okay. And she's been a stay-at-home mom, but he said, well, there's a job you could get. Well, and let's go to, why would he say that? Would he have said it if it was just the two of them in the car? Probably not. And that's what, I alluded to a little bit on Wednesday. There's a lot of posturing that goes on. Because sometimes our own insecurity, we can say things, and then it lifts us up to just put other people down. And everybody kind of laughs, and it's a joke, and we feel good about it. Okay. But then he said, the second one is, that she said that they were having a meeting at the church, and that he and another guy were standing there, and they were talking and joking, and then his wife showed up, and so they're going in to have this meeting, and he said, well, here's the boss's chair. Let's let her sit in the boss's chair. Now, what's the problem there? So? No, it was really towards women. And he went on to explain, he goes, well, you know how men, they just get together and they joke. This was his explanation to me. They get together and joke how women, they like to be the boss. And so I was just joking about, letting her be the boss. So what's the problem with it? He's not secure. I heard disrespect back there. It's disrespectful if I need to put someone else down. And we can say all day long, I'm just joking. I'm just kidding. Well, it's just a joke. Everybody says that. But we're not everybody. And like I said, I know I've said this before, but we're not everybody. We're saints of God. We're not everybody. And we need to be aware of what we're saying. Because it is very, if you want to insult your spouse or insult your kids, you got to realize what you're doing to that relationship. Because if you need to insult your husband or your wife in order to feel good about you or just to crack a joke, that's a lot to pay just to have a joke. Because what you want is you want them to feel safe and secure with you, right? And that's one reason. It embarrasses Sarah if I talk about her up here. And so I try not to too much. She's my sweet girl. But we don't want to put the other one down because you get into a lot of this sexist talk. And there still is a whole lot of it out there. And we want to be aware of that. Because if we get into those little innuendos, the other person isn't going to allow themselves to put themselves in that position where they're vulnerable with you. And if I'm not vulnerable with my husband, then there's a wall there. I have to make myself vulnerable to have that close relationship, just like I do with God. I have to make myself vulnerable. You guys, I think everybody here knows I wasn't raised with my dad. And one of the biggest things that I had to get over when I started coming to the church is to be able to call God Father. Because that made me cry to say Father. Because I wasn't raised with my father in my life. So it caused pain, and I had to get past that so that I could make myself vulnerable to God and totally open up and to grow. Because if we keep those walls up, I said, at my first marriage, I said, it was Catholic, and I said, I just don't want the Lord's Prayer. So I don't want that. I do not want it to say, Our Father. And they went and did it anyhow. But that was really hard on me. I didn't want to hear that. And I had to. So we deal with relationships. And this isn't, I've said this before. So we deal with that so that I could say, we have a great relationship, and I've developed that relationship. With that vulnerability, well, when we look at that with our spouse, if we're willing to make comments that degrade or put them down in any way, even if we say I'm just joking. Whether it's about weight, whether it's about hormones, and we can tell lots of jokes. I went to this musical, and it was all women that performed it. It was on menopause. It was the funniest thing I ever watched. But I don't want to hear men joking about menopause. So, we can have that, but we have to be sensitive there. We need to watch, and I'm sure we're really good. I'm hoping everybody here is good, but I think as a society we're becoming better and more sensitive to like racial slurs, anything like that. So we need to really attend to the ones that have to do with spouses, with gender. Because we can get into that boat where we're going, well, you know how men are. Well, it's a woman. That's a woman for you. Can't live with them, can't live without them. What you going to do? See, and we can laugh at that. But it doesn't if my husband was sitting here hearing me and I was seriously saying that, he's not going to be open to communicating, because now I just said, I'm dangerous to him because I could hurt him. And that's it with our spouses. We can hurt each other. So we want to be very aware of that, aware of what we're saying, how we're treating them, if we're being respectful. And you might think, oh, you're just overreacting, and it does make a difference. I see a big yawn, and I'm almost done. So, all right. Well, hopefully this has made some sense. Remember that wheel. 55% is what? Body language. 7% is? So I'm trying to do the math. 38% is? Facial expressions. Okay. So we got to remember that's how we communicate. People listen. They communicate more, and they watch more what you do than what you say any day. And that's the biggest witness, is what we do. So we're communicating a whole lot. And that's the whole idea of, with our dress, I feel, my dress and the way I dress, I know it communicates something. And you can take it derogatory. I don't. I see it as a big privilege. I love the way I dress. I love being we were at the restaurant, and I asked Dad, I said, those ladies over there at that table? Because they were all dressed like me. I love it. It doesn't hinder me. It's not, some people look at it as a burden. I love this. I love what it communicates to. So, all right, I'm going to turn it over to my brother.
All right. Thank you, Janet. And I want to go ahead, give her. I wanted to, even before you gave her applause, I wanted to say to her publicly and also to all of you, is that to thank her for committing to another year with us. 5 trips here. When she travels here, she shuts down. Each trip here shuts down a minimum of 1 day of her practice. Okay? Now, we're good to her, but I don't know that we're that good to her. Okay? And all of us need to be thankful. Okay? We don't need to worship her or bow down to her, but we need to be thankful for her willingness to partner with us and come and share. And there's a lot of these things that my expertise within the biblical basis, which we bring to bear not only within these weekends, but also throughout. As I tell her, I've got access to you all the time. We've got her a limited amount of time. So there are times that she's going to take more time in the weekends than I do. But her efforts, her time is just very much appreciated. And she's able to bring pieces in that are in agreement with the Scriptures, but there are also other ways to look at it and have behavioral components, if you will, and a lot of research and a lot of things that can really help us. Now, tonight is not meant to have you go home and say, what hope is there? Because the challenge of solving any kind of problem or facing any kind of challenge is to first know, what are we facing? And so tonight was meant to kind of lay out the landscape. What are we facing? What are the components? What are the pieces that we're dealing with? And then begin to look at how can we proactively address these issues? How can we deal with these? And hopefully over the next few sessions, we will equip you and help you in dealing with that. All right? So why don't we stand? And I think probably it'd be good to close the same way we started. Lift your hands to the Lord, and let's say thanks to Him as well. Can we do that together? Jesus, we worship You. We thank You, Lord, for this evening. Thank You, Lord, for Your blessings in our lives. God, thank You for bringing Janet to us. God, for what we have learned tonight. God, be with us tonight. Give us safe travel. And God, bring us back tomorrow night to learn some more, Lord. God, give us safety in our travels, Lord. I bless Your name, and I thank You, Lord, for this night. God, give us a good day tomorrow. In Jesus' name, amen. Men that are going to men's prayer breakfast, we're meeting here at the church at 7:45. 7:45. Please be prompt, all right? God bless you. You're dismissed in Jesus' name.